You're watching Hour 11 in a video series I call Design and Code My Personal Website in 12 Hours. My name is Travis Nielsen, but of course you knew that already, because why would you start watching a video series at Hour 11? You anarchist? This week we're going to build the Notes section. This section includes a form provided by Mailchimp that will enable us to gather new subscriptions to my newsletter. I call them notes, but what they are emails that I send out every Thursday. Topics that include creativity, work ethic, productivity tips, creative health, personal insights. If you have not signed up, you really should. Head over to travisnielsen.com/notes to get some. In the meantime, let's pass the mic to Little Trav. Small Trav! Let's scroll down to the place where we're going to start working, and here's our next section here. Now, I've already done a little bit of prep work for this video, nothing that you haven't seen already. Here's a list of what I've done so far. I've created a section notes.jade in Jade files. That's actually the document that I'm writing in right here. And I've included that section notes.jade into index.html on line 17 right here. Simple. So create the file, include the file. Next, I've created the home notes.sass in assets CSS 3-sections. And I've imported it into main, and you can see that right there. And that concludes the work that I've done so far. Now, let's take a look at what we're going to be doing this hour. Jump over to Photoshop, and last week we did the dribble and Behance, and this week we're doing email notes. This is a really exciting thing for me. I really enjoy writing email notes to everyone, and this is going to enable me to reach more people and hopefully help them to get a better understanding of what the tone and cadence and purpose of my email notes are. So just structurally, we have, let me get my selection, we have a two-column thing. It spreads across both columns, and then right under that we have a column 1 and another column 1. So it's kind of a hybrid of two kind of ideas. Let me see if we have this replicated anywhere else. Not really. In the columns we have already set up a column 2, and then we also have, two column 1 setup that we've done before. So let's jump into our section notes.jade. This is where we're going to start coding, and we're going to say section dot, what is this, dot notes. And let's open our columns .jade and find the column 2. That's where we're going to start. Okay, that's where we're going to start, and we're going to start, including the home lead, and then let's look at our design actually. All right, we don't have a button this time. We don't have a home-CTA this time. But instead, our CTA is actually this form. And we'll get to that in a second. But first, let's set up our lead paragraph and these columns down here. So the lead paragraph is the P home lead, like we've done every time. And the statement there is just sending email notes. Okay, and then right under that we're going to have the form. So I'll put it like a div here, and I'll call it nodes sign up box. And then inside that I'll just make a note to myself that this is where I'm going to be putting the form in the future. And that's all in column 2. Then we're going to go down and make another column, and we're going to end the flex box right there and just create an entirely different flex right underneath it. So I'll go back to my columns, and the one that we want is flex center column 1, column 2, like that. So let's just put that right there, and we don't want to nest it under flex. It's going to be right there, a sibling of the other flex center. And let's take a look at what we got so far. Cool. So sending email notes, and then the form, and then below that the 2 paragraphs. Looking at our design, that's pretty darn close. Here's the 2 paragraphs. Let me just get our text selection and copy that one. So here's the text for the first paragraph, and here's the text for the second one. Cool. Let me fix that paragraph. You should sign up. Okay. And then we have, after this paragraph here, we have a list. So I'll just put this in a UL. Now in Atom text editor, if I hold Command and click, then I get multiple cursors. And this is really interesting. I can do LI. And then I want these all to be in an anchor tag. And by doing this, I can just quickly make the same edits to every line. So these are all in an anchor tag, and they're all LIs. I'm going to indent them all once, and then I'm good. If I hit escape, then I get out of the multi-line cursor, and then I can just indent this whole UL to be where it should be in the column 1. And I think that's good. We have that first paragraph, and then the second column, second paragraph, and then a UL under it with a bunch of links. I didn't put the ending quote on these links, and so they were wrapping all strange. This should work now. All right, pardon the mistake. Cool, so we have the headline, the form, and then the notes. Let's start styling right now, actually. Jump into, I'm gonna close columns, jump into Home Notes, and start with a section, Notes. And the first thing we're going to do is, like we usually do, just set the background. So background, and I've already exported this from the PSD. Image is URL, images notes dash bg dot jpeg. And that background size is going to be stretched to fit the screen wherever it needs to be, so it's going to be background cover and position center. Cool. That's that typewriter that we saw in the PSD. Very good. Now let's make all the text white. And that's good. Now in this section we have those 2 column 1s. Let me bring up our Photoshop document and show you the next thing. So in this section we have 2 column 1s. This is a column 1 and this is a column 1, but we don't have any other column 1s. So we can target those column 1s as paragraph content, and I need to shift this left paragraph to be aligned to the right. Okay? So let's say in section 1, indent it a little bit and put column -1. And let's start off by doing some padding for these guys. Padding left 30 pixels. Let me just put this down so we can see. Okay, padding left 30 pixels. Now that I have padding left on 30 pixels, I want to go to and first child and start repositioning all those other things that I need to do. So for example, on this one, padding left needs to be 0, but padding right needs to be 30. And we need a text align. Right, and we need to put that border between them. So border right is going to be solid 2 pixels, not 22 pixels, white. So okay, let's make the font size here 18. and the font style is going to be italic. Ooh, nice. Now there needs to be a few other typographical changes. So for example, these anchor tags, they're colored the original color, so they need to have a color of white. And this UL needs to be list style none and padding 0. And now I'm looking at those anchor tags again, and I see that they have a text decoration because I wanted to make sure that they look like links. So I'll put underline. That looks pretty good, but I've got this big old area here that's sticking down. This bar, this rule goes down so far, and I'm thinking that's because the paragraph has a margin below it. So I'll put margin 0. What is that? Is it the UL? Okay. The UL as margin 0. Good. Good. Let's compare that to our PSD. Looks pretty good. They line up pretty well. Let's change this to be column 1. Line height could be a little bit bigger. Line height could be 2. Start there. That's going to be too big. How about 1.6? 1.8. Yep, that's nice. Now let's focus on the form. I use Mailchimp as a service that I send out my email newsletters, and they also, Mailchimp has a form builder that gives me the code for a form that will let me collect new email subscribers and put them in the list so I can send them emails later on. So let's go over to Mailchimp, and I'll just log in here, so fast forward. Okay, here we are in my Mailchimp admin backend, and how we're going to do this, I'm going to go to lists, and I'm going to find the list that I send to, which is the travisnielsen.com newsletter. These are the notes, and I'm going to click on that. Now in the notes, I'm going to say sign up forms, and I'm going to, I think, embed, yeah, generate HTML code to embed on your blog. So I'm going to click on embed forms. Now I want to go to, there's a few different kinds, and you can see previews here on the right. There's super slim and then naked. Naked is no CSS or no styling at all. And then in the options down below, I can like even narrow down even further what I want. Let's go back to our PSD and look. Do I want a title? I don't. Do I want labels? Yes. What are the fields? First name, email address, and subscribe. So right here I have, the title. So let's get rid of that title. And then show only required fields. No, I want email address and first name, so that's good. Show interest group fields. Nope. Show required field indicators. Nope. Because I want them all to be required, really. And then show HTML format options. Nope. So I really stripped this down to be super, super naked. And then I'm just going to copy this code block right here, Command C, and then come over to my Jade code right here. Now, normally in Jade, you'd nest things, right? And if I paste right here, we're going to have this holy terror of a mess right inside of my Jade. And until recently, I was like, oh, that'll never work. I'll have to like put it all on one line. But I learned something recently, and it was actually from a comment on the YouTube channel, which I learned from just as much as you guys do. If you're not reading those, you should be reading those. The way to do this is to hit period. If you hit it, put a dot after the container, and then you indent, everything that's in that indentation can have whatever formatting you like. In this case, it can be HTML formatting. and it will get output from Jade just as is, in this case, readable HTML for the Jekyll installation. Okay, so that's what Mailchimp has given me. And I'll get rid of these two comments here because I know where their form begins and ends. Okay, we have a label, an input field, a label, an input field, and a subscribe button. Now we want in our design our label and input field to be on top of each other. Now you may remember a while ago I did a video for PHP Academy where I taught everyone how to make the label kind of animate up when you click in the field, and it animated up, similar to what Material Design from Google does. We're not going to do that today. I'm just going to have the label up in the top corner all the time. But that's a good resource if you want to add a little bit of funk to what we're doing here. But right now, here is how we're going to be doing this. The first thing I want to do personally to help me is I want to reformat these divs because it's kind of a little bit of a mess. So let's do that. Okay, I briefly formatted it to make this easier. Let's look at the structure of it. We have a div that comes from Mailchimp called MC embed signup. So this is going to be the wrapper around the whole form. Then we have the form itself, and then div ID scroll, which these should be inside of. Okay, these are inside of scroll, and then they have these elements here. People should not fill this in, expect good things. So Mailchimp is telling me that I shouldn't mess with this kind of stuff, but I do notice that there is an input here at the bottom, and that will come into play in a little bit. But the things that I'm interested in here are these two things. These are two groups, and inside are a label and an input. So it's a div wrapper, label, input. That is interesting because if I look at my design here, I have a wrapper for each of these groups, and then a label, and then an input kind of behind it. And then over here is the subscribe button. So let's move this subscribe button out. Class clear. Get it out of this clear. And I'll take that and I'll move it up to be in with, like in line with these other two groups. And now I need a way to address just these three elements, being these two MC field groups and the submit button. So let's go over here to line 10 and put these guys in a div. We'll call it div class equals, this is the actual form that displays, so we'll say form display. Indent that a little bit. Oops. Okay, now we have form display, and then there's those two groups that are inside, and the input, the submit input. I think that's good for our markup right now. Let's go into our styles and see what we can make of this. What did I call it? Class of form display. Good old background pink to see what we're working with, and there we are. Now the first thing I notice is that this form is shrunk down to the size of the headline. Why is the headline shrinking? Column 2 is small. Okay, so we've got this problem where column 2 does not have a defined width. Its max width is 640 pixels, but its actual width is not defined, and the width is being determined by its content. Since it's flex, it's going to shrink to its content. Let me try something. Go to column 2 here and say width 100%. Okay. So I do need to go back to column 1, and this is going to be in a different file. This will be in our home.sas where we defined our grid, and go to column 2. There we go. And say width is going to be 100%. All right, that's better. Now, the email notes. So this title now, because of its parent is 100%, this title is not center aligned like we wanted it to be. So we'll say home lead, and this is just in our, we're back to our we're back to our home-notes.sas, and we'll say text align center. That's better. Okay, now let's focus back on this form. We have the background pink. It's kind of what we want. Not really. Actually, let's look at what we want. We want the background to be this transparent white. Okay, background. Let's make you transparent white. This method of making the white is a little bit sassy. We say RGBA, and then you write white, and then 0.5, right? Maybe a little less, 0.3. So that's a fun way of doing that instead of doing, 255, 255, 255, 0.3. You just write the word white, apparently. I didn't know that. And then we want to put a border on this. Border 2 pixels, solid, white. Maybe it's 4 pixels. All right, 3 pixels it is. And a drop shadow. 8 pixels, and then RGBA again, black, and let's say 0.3. Okay, so we've got the border, drop shadow, and the background. Fantastic. All right, now see how all of the elements are vertical? I want to get them in a row. So the easy way to do that is to say display, flex, and that'll line them all up good. And then I want to add some space between what's below it and what's above it. So I'll say margin, like 50 pixels above and below, and none on the right and the left. And that's looking good too. And I think that's it for the form display. Next, let's jump into those inputs. So if I say input, and I want the position of the inputs to be relative, because I'm going to set the labels to absolute position to get them up nice in that corner there. And border 0, background, I need that to be transparent so that the white can come through. Yeah, background none. And padding 0, display. Form elements are usually inline elements, so let's make them display blocks. Let's actually make the background pink for a little bit, so we can see what I'm doing here. Okay, we've got the forms below because they're display block, and they're inside of the MC field. All right, let's stop there, and we'll come back to the inputs. Let's look at the labels, because now that I have the input set as position relative, I can set the label as position absolute. And let's bring those up a little bit. Okay. They need to be really small, so let's say font size 12 pixels. And let's bring them away from the edge there, so we'll say left, maybe like 5 pixels. Why did you disappear? Oh, input position relative. They're not children of the input, they're children of MC field group. Let's get that right now. MC field group, you need to be position relative. Okay, that's what we wanted. And the overall height, let's see, how was the height of this Photoshop document here, or this, what was the height of this form here? About 60 pixels tall. So let's make the inputs height going to be 60 pixels. And that's going to be both the subscribe button and the input field, right? And now that we have the MC field group, the MC field group is a direct child of form dash display, and so is the input type of submit. And I want to stretch these things out to where they fill the space needed inside of the form. Look at how big our form display is, but at the same time our inputs are all crammed over to the left. So I'm going to use flex and spread these out here. And the reason why I said flex 2 right here on MC field group is that another sibling of the of these flexed items, the MC field group, is an input element called type equals submit. And I can say flex 1. Now flex is proportional, so you see how it grew just a little bit and the other two are bigger. Let me show you this. Actually, you probably don't see them, but the background of these MC field groups is going to be light blue. You see how the MC field group is this whole thing right there. It's not just the pink that we were looking at. The pink is the input field. And the input field needs to be width like 100% or something. There we go. Now the pink is going all the way to the right. Now we need to get that line right between them. In our design we have a line separating these fields. So let's go to MC field group 2 and say and first child. It's going to have a border right of 4 pixels, white and solid. Ding. Gosh, that is beautiful. That looks great. And then let's go to input type submit and say background white. Color, let's get the color from our Photoshop document. And that's right there. And also font size, I think it's like 24 pixels, right? That's what we used before. Subscribe. And padding on the right and the left. So top and bottom would be 0, right and left will be like, 15 pixels. There we go, just a little bit more padding. That looks great, man. I was really excited about that. Let's get rid of the light blue for the background of the boxes and get rid of the pink for the background of the inputs. And it's just white. Why would it be completely white? Oh, because instead of background pink, it should be background none. There we go. Cool. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, now for the input, I want a state of and focus and make that outline. The outline is this blue thing. You see that blue fuzziness? I don't like it. Outline none. Actually, instead of saying padding only on this one, let's put padding on all of them. That way this text gets padding. Ooh, but 15 is a little aggressive. How about 10? Well, I want the label to line up, so let's line up that label. Instead of saying left 5, let's say left 10. Okay, that's better. So I do want padding to be 15 on the submit button. Let's do that here. And then I want font size on these inputs. So font size on the submit button is still 24. Font size on your text that you're inputting should be about 18. There we go. set itself apart from the, oh, so good, so good. All right, that looks fantastic. The last thing we have to do is just make sure that it works on mobile. So let's go to our emulator here and refresh, see what we got going on here. Actually, let's start here. Okay, so let's look at our emulator here. Gonna shrink it down, get rid of our sidebar right there. Still looks good. I do imagine we'll have some problems with the size of this form. Okay. The first thing I noticed is that when the text boxes collapsed, we have the border right here, and then the padding's all funky. So let's go back up to where we did all that weird stuff with our columns. And we'll do this. At media, max width, 640 pixels. Padding 0. Looks good. And first child, padding 0. Text align left, and border none. Very nice, very nice. Thinking about this, it should have some padding, right? These notes have absolutely no, this has absolutely no padding, which is not buenos. I want bueno, not no bueno. The padding should be 010, not 0. It's like reset, not eliminate. Good, 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 good. So as that shrinks up, it still looks good. It got the links below here, looking phantasmic. Shrinking up this form though, it's getting kind of small to have 3 columns. Still all right, it's all right. Now we have a problem. All right, what if at 640 right there, we break this form? See, yeah, I don't know, should I do it later? When does it really start looking bad? Like around 580, 590? I think 590 is still doable. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna go to form display and say at media max width 590 pixels, random. 590 pixels. Stop being flex. Flex, no, it's called, not flex, it's called display block. Looks good. Except for the MC field group. What you gotta be doing is that first child there, let's put another one at media, max width 640. No, 590. Your border right has got to go. And I'll put a border bottom. Same one. 4 pixels, solid white. Bam. Ooh, yeah. Shrink it down, looking good. You see this how this ellipse is wrapped right there? We can stop that from happening by saying and non-breaking space, like that. That's a non-breaking space. There you go. So now the space between notes and the ellipses will not break. I like it. I think we're done. Let's sign up. Errors. Too many subscribe attempts. Oh, I'm already subscribed. But it still works. That's good. This is work. This is work. This is good. This is what we want. So happy about this. This is going to enable everyone to subscribe to the newsletter and get fantastic email notes every Thursday right in the face, right? Or in the inbox anyway. All right, Big Trav, back to you. Thanks, Little Trav. Hey, did you know that these videos are supported by patrons? What is a patron? Well, I'm glad you asked. A patron is a lovely person who wants to help the show do more and be more awesome. Patrons donate whatever they want for each episode, and as a bonus, they get to enjoy other things like watching the videos early, access to private dev tips chat, and private podcast episodes. Here's something that a patron said recently about his membership in the patron community. For more information about becoming a patron or even learning about what patrons do, visit patreon.com/devtips. Link is in the description below. Next week we are going to finish this series. It is going to be epic. I am so excited. I'll talk to you later, but until then, keep on hacking.